Sometimes, man, and I learned this from my own life experiences, which I'll talk about, it ain't all about looks when it comes to women. It's about a lot more. Let's get into it. Skip it up and that up. So I remember last year when this happened and I didn't make a video on it. And now, again, I'm so glad that I didn't. I don't care if you call me review late to the party USA. When Doug FaZe Censor Martin broke up with Mexican weather personality Yanet Garcia. Here's a picture of her. Yes, she's insanely hot. And a lot of people got at him for that because he said that the main reason he did it was because he wanted to focus on Call of Duty. And a lot of people gave him flack. Oh my God, you're choosing video games over a woman. And I saw a lot of people were like, bro, come on, look at her, bro. What's wrong with you? What a nerd playing video games instead of staying with a hot woman. God, I hate gamers, man. I play games too, but God, man, I'm so full of testosterone. Oh. And I remember sitting there, I'm like, there has to be more to this story. There has to be more to it. I'm going to shut my mouth about it because there's always more. There's always more. It's never just, oh, I just want to sit there and play video. Like, I'm sure that wasn't the main reason. I'm sure it wasn't. He makes cash money playing Call of Duty. It's not like he's just some dork sitting there playing it, just, sitting in his mom's house, not doing anything else. He actually has a career, a lucrative career, doing this. And of course, there was more to the story. We're going to discuss that now, and then I'll give you my take and tell you some of my war stories as to why I agree with him. Let's get into it. So a few days ago, he posted this on Twitter, and you may think this ties into him choosing video games over a woman and like he has issues or whatever, but then I watched his video. Anyway, this is what he said on Twitter about 5 days ago, FaZe Censor. My parents were concerned because I didn't kiss a girl throughout high school. To me, it was more important to be number one in the world of COD. That opportunity wouldn't always be there. Glad I made that decision. And there's pictures of the dude now standing in front of $50,000 checks. He's doing his thing. I sometimes can't get a single kill in Call of Duty, and this guy's making more money than some doctors do playing Call of Duty. Well, where did I go wrong? Now, again, if it was just that, you may think, all right, Richie still chose video games over a woman. He's still a weirdo in my eyes. Then, I know this video is very old, months old. I saw his video. His video is titled Why I Broke Up with Yanet Garcia. And then you start to find out that there was other things. Though these were the real things that made the relationship fall apart. Not because he had to play video games. Is it because there was tension behind the scenes? And yes, a woman may look good, but there may be ugly things about her that may turn you off. And then all of a sudden that hot woman you thought was so hot, she starts to get ugly. Now I'm not saying that she's a bad person. I'm not saying anything like that, but these are kind of deal-breaking reasons that he went through. And these are the three big ones that I got. Let's get into those now. Now, first off, she wanted a cut of his money from his videos. She was in some of the videos. The people knew that he was dating Yanet Garcia. I'm sure that was bringing him traffic. But the way at least he sounded that she went about it kind of was like, wow, context is key. And she's seeing more about the cash money than anything else. Now, there's two ways to look at it. I'm not going to totally throw shade on her for this one. Throw shade at her. On her, Adam. Like, I feel like I'm putting a lampshade on her head, but you get my point. I'm not going to totally throw shade at her. But I would find it sketchy too if, like, okay, if I was with somebody and they were in a couple videos, they're like, yo, man, where's my cut? I would be like, first off, I'm the kind of person that would probably go to them and say, hey, do you want a cut of money? Like when Intro Guy is on my on some streams and stuff like that, I'll throw him some money without him even asking, because I'm like, dude, you're part of it. Part of the reason why people are watching streams and videos is because you're here. You deserve to get a little money. You know what I'm saying? But if he came to me like, yo, where's my cut, dude? It's just different. You see what I'm saying? How the context is key there. Now, I'm not behind the scenes. Maybe she was very nice about it and much different than he's portraying it. But that's one of the bullet points that I had. It depends on how it happened. If she was kind of like, yo, what's good, man? Where's my money? I can understand why that would be a turnoff to him. The second reason is, and this one alone, I'll tell you one of my stories soon. This one would be a deal breaker to me in and of itself. She tried to control who he hung out with. Like if he went to a certain gym, she didn't want him to go there with those kind of friends. She would say, you can't go there. Or she would just try to control where he went and stuff like that. No, Like, I've been down that road before myself too. Soon as that kind of shit happens, you're out. Like, that's a big one. And he said that happened, okay? And when people try to control you, that becomes a big problem. So if that did happen, which again, I'm going on his word, again, I'm sure that if we heard her side of the story, she would say things too. But if that was the case, that's a big one. That's a big problem. Let's continue. Now, he said this too, and this is going to tie into mine. He said, yeah, looks aren't everything. And no matter how hot a person is, if you find out they're, and I'm not saying Yanet Garcia was, but when you find out someone's crazy behind the scenes, or you get to know them more and you get to deal with their flaws more behind the scenes, it becomes a much bigger problem. And all of a sudden, that woman that you were told was so hot, you start to look at her and be like, oh God, she's annoying. Like, I don't know, she doesn't even really turn me on anymore. That's happened to me, man. Look, I know you may think that I'm a virgin for life, but I'm not. And I got some stories. Let's get into them. This first story isn't a big deal. The second one is the doozy. But it proves how someone can have great looks, but once they open their mouths, it's like, I remember I was in college, man. This girl was gorgeous. And she was interested in me. And we hung out a few times, like, man, this woman, I can't believe it. She's even wasting her time with me. But when she talked, there was two things, actually. One, she was just off the wall. Like, trying to have a conversation with her, you'd be better off having a conversation with this remote. Like, it was just, and when she said things, they were so bizarre, it was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, it was painful. It hurt to talk to her. Okay? So I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And this deal breaker, complete deal breaker was, like, she had the worst breath on the planet. Her breath. Like, I don't know what was going on. It's like she had a dead cat in her throat. I really, to this day, like, her breath was so accurate. I'm thinking of it now, and I want to barf. I could remember. This is from years ago how this woman's breath smelled. So personality was weird. Her breath was terrible, and didn't matter how good she looked. She did look good though. I'll tell you that. But now here's the doozy. I would say a semi-long-term relationship. I was with this woman for a year. And she was also, I would say, pretty hot. Okay? Blonde. All the right places, without going into detail. I was like, man, I got a good one here. She was the most jealous person on the planet. There was one time we were walking to, like, bodega, a deli, or whatever the case may be. And when we were walking in, this old woman, like, I'm talking like 70s and a moo woman, was getting out of her car. As we walked by, her door clanked open, and I looked over. Because you hear a noise. That's something that, you do when you're a human and you have ears. Okay? And then, we went in there. God, whatever she wanted to get water or something, or juice, or whatever the case may be. And the rest of the day, she was acting really weird. I'm like, what's going on? Person. Won't even name her first name because her name is very specific, and that is what it is. And she goes to me, what were you looking at when we were going into the deli? And I was like, I didn't even think, because I'm like, what are you talking about? What was I looking at? Like, what do you mean? What was I looking at? There was a woman as we were walking in that car, and when she got out of the car, you checked her out. I'm like, you mean the woman that was in her 70s that was in a muumuu? I looked over because her door opened and it made a noise. And she, like, snapped out of it. She's like, oh, yeah, you're right. She was ugly and old. Okay, just wanted to make sure. She thought I was checking out a 70-something-year-old woman wearing a muumuu. She could have been my grandmother. Like, really my grandmother, that's how old she was. And she thought I was checking her out. But it gets better. Story number 2, same woman. A place I used to work at. There was this girl there that she wouldn't do her job sometimes. She had, like, the red carpet rolled out for her. She got away with things, and I knew why she did, because it was like 90% males where I worked at. And it was like, there was like a handful of females there. And she was like the best looking one there. And she was very demanding. And You know, even if you were busy doing something where I was working at and you had like 10 people you were working with, if you didn't stop everything you were doing for her, she would like actually get nasty over like the loudspeaker to get you. And I went home and I told my ex this and said, hey, you know, what a miserable day at work. This woman that works there, everyone treats her a certain way because she's good looking, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, she lost, my ex lost it. I'm like, what did I do now? She's like, you said she's good looking, so that means you find her attractive, so I bet you check her out. And she started flipping out, throwing things, screaming, losing her mind. And I just drove off. I left, and I didn't leave permanently. I should have at that point. But I'm like, all because I said a woman had a pleasing physical appearance. Not that, I jumped behind the counter and jumped on top of her. You know, and we had our way in the back office. It was, I just said people walk on eggs around her because her appearance is pleasing. Not that I wanted to do anything with her, I didn't. Not that I did anything with her, I didn't. I was just telling the story as to why things happened the way they did. And because I said that in her mind, oh my God, his eyes can see other women besides me. That's it. He must be doing something. She was insanely jealous. I remember she didn't want me to get a computer job fixing computers at a college because she was afraid I would check out women that worked at the college. That's a small addendum that I just remembered, by the way. But the doozy story that finally made me break up with her, a good-looking woman, okay, made me break up with her, was this one. This is the doozy. My cousin got married a while ago now, okay? And I was in the wedding party. When you're in a wedding party, you're separate from everyone else. You're in a back room, you're drinking, you're getting ready to be part of the party. It could take a while. I was there for an hour and a half. I was still with this same ex at this point. Now, because she was a moron, she didn't know how weddings worked. So I come out and she's like causing a scene, screaming, "Where were you for the past half hour? Where were you with?" She thought, this is a true story, by the way. She thought that I was cheating on her with a female somewhere that she couldn't see me because she was too much of a jealous dumbass to know how wedding parties worked. Okay? I wasn't doing that. Spoiler alert. And she caused this whole drama. My cousin's wedding basically got ruined because this psycho bitch thought I cheated on her because she didn't understand how a wedding party worked. And it caused the scene. People were checking that out. It was such a disaster. She left in a cab because she thought I was cheating and she didn't want to be near me. And it was funny. We lived together for a little bit. And at that point I went home and said, "You got to go." I said, I can't deal with this. You think that if there's another woman with a pulse around me that I'm doing something with her, and there was other small things that happened like all the time, but that was like, she basically ruined my cousin's wedding at that point and caused the scene and caused drama over absolutely nothing. And I was like, "You got to go out." And she's like, "I thought you were always going to deal with me the way I am." I'm like, "No, because you're fucking batshit crazy. I don't care what you look like. You got to go." So my point being is, I understand there's some of you guys that probably watch FaZe Censor or watch me and think, "Oh, man, I wish I could have a woman like that, Yanet Garcia," which I'm not saying I've had a woman in that league. That I would be lying to you. I haven't. But I know from the enough experience that I had that, man, looks aren't everything. And sometimes when you find out what happens behind the scenes, the looks don't matter anymore. Sometimes just the relationship is too stressful. The woman is too batshit crazy. And when the relationship starts to hinder you, your mental health, and your career, they got to go. I don't care what they look like. I don't care if they're better looking than Yanet Garcia. It's not worth it. And from what I saw from FaZe Censor's video, there was a lot more going on behind the scenes than just him wanting to play video games. Looks aren't everything, man. When you find out who the true person is, sometimes looks mean jack shit. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one. Hey everybody, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you click the subscribe button. Also click the bell next to it to be notified of all of my uploads. And if you want to come check out my live streams, I have a second YouTube channel called RTU Streams where I'll be streaming there quite a bit starting in April. I'll have a link to that below in the description as well. Thank you for the continued support, and and I'll see all of you in the next video.